guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is 28 years old, and he's going to share his story about events that happened 2 years ago with his now ex-girlfriend. And let me tell you guys, of all the stories I've done over the last 2 years since I started this channel, I have never seen a gal stoop so low to get some sausage on the side. I kid you not, okay? This is about a guy, like I say, he's been with, it was 2 years ago, and he's been with her for 4 years. He thought he had a great thing going with her. We've heard that before. Also, he had a great relationship with her family, really close with the father and mother, and thought he was going to marry her one day. And then after a couple months, you're going to see, after being cooped up in the apartment because of COVID, they went on a camping trip with other friends. And then suddenly she got a call that her dad apparently got COVID, and he was in dire straits and she had to go. Right? Well, you're going to see in this story, guys, maybe that's not exactly the case of what happened here. But I'm going to go through this here, and let me tell you, like I said before, I've never seen, at least the stories I've covered, a gal stoop so low to get some size sausage. However, you're going to see her little thing doesn't work out. This guy busts her, and it's a pretty entertaining story. And it goes to show you, you're never safe. Because this guy, he never saw any red flags or problems. He never saw it coming. So it starts off, he says, hello SSM. I'm a fairly new subscriber and I love the stories that you share. I was on the fence about sharing my own, but after watching most of your videos, I didn't see one that was similar. I'm not sure if it would help anyone out, but you never know until put it out there. Yeah, bro, your story definitely takes the cake in terms of a gal stooping so low, so you get the award for that. And I'm sorry it happened to you, because obviously I know what happens in the story, but obviously you're doing well, so that's good. My story was about 2 years ago. I'm 28 and my ex-girlfriend Beth of 4 years is the same age. We met at my job after I graduated college and started dating pretty seriously after about 6 months of going out on dates. The job I have is in her hometown, and in the time we were together, I had the chance to get to know her parents really well. They liked me a lot, and the further our relationship went on, the more they were convinced that we would eventually end up married. Her dad is really fun to hang out with and shoot the shit with. He spent some time in the Army when he was younger and always had a great story to tell about his misguided youth. If I had to describe the man, it would be larger than life and funny as hell. I really liked him and still send the birthday and Christmas cards to him and his wife. When the ex and I were still together, I made a point to spend time with her parents every couple of weeks. My own parents live several states away, and it was nice to have parental figures in my life that seemed to care about me. We call him Dan and his wife Michelle. Well, bro, it sounds like you actually like the parents more than her. And that's awesome that you had such a good relationship. A lot of guys have girlfriends and they start actually getting closer to the family than them. A lot of times because they didn't have a close relationship with their parents. He says, I introduced Beth to my own parents, and in the 4 years we were together, I think we were only able to see my parents twice. They liked her well enough, but how much can you really know about someone if you only met them a few times? Our relationship was going really well, and we had some common friends that we would do things with sometimes. One couple in particular, we spent a lot of time doing things like going camping with. It was one of those camping trips we had planned for almost 2 months that our relationship ended. It was planned over Memorial Day weekend in 2020. That was near the beginning of all the lockdowns for COVID, and a weekend out camping was something we looked forward to so we could get out of the apartment. I think we were having a bit of cabin fever at that point. I can imagine just being stuck in, every state is different where they handle things, I'm in Massachusetts and they were pretty militant back then. But I heard stories of people, husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends that ordinarily would get along, but after being cooped up in the same place for so long, they're driving each other crazy. So I'm sure a camping trip was a breath of fresh air, like literally. Anyway, the weekend for our trip arrived and we drove to the campsite that was about 30 minutes out of town to meet our friends. The first night was spent getting our tents and campsite set up, and we all had a lot of fun catching up and being around other people. It was all going really well until Beth got a call at 9 o'clock at night. When she got off the phone, she looked worried and told me it was her mom on the phone. She said that her mom told her that her dad had picked up COVID and was pretty bad. I asked her if she wanted to call off our trip and go back, but she insisted, guys, that I stay and enjoy the weekend with our friends. I tried to convince her that it was fine, but she said she was going to help her mom and dad and didn't want me to be exposed to the bug. Well, if she got it, then she'd give it to you. I didn't like the idea of just sitting back and enjoying the weekend by myself, but after a bit of back and forth, I relented. Beth ended up calling a cab and told me to give her a call when I made it back to the apartment. She was going to spend the weekend with her parents to help out. Well, here's a question. Where on earth are you going camping that you can catch a cab or you have good cell service? When I've gone camping, I'm in New Hampshire, in the middle of nowhere, and there you can't get cell service, and you sure as hell can't call a cab. But okay. So anyhow, emergency call from Mom about Dad getting COVID. And this guy naturally is concerned because he's close to her mom and dad. But she's like, oh, no, stay here. Enjoy the campfire. Enjoy the marshmallows and the s'mores. I'll go stay off with Dad. Well, let's see what happens next. By the time the cab made it to our location, we had most of her things packed up. And by 11 o'clock, she was on the road back home. I spent the rest of the night talking with her friends and worrying about her dad. When I woke up the next morning, I couldn't do it. I told her friends I was going to head out and apologize for leaving early. They both understood and we promised we would make it up the next time we had the chance. It took me about an hour to get my things packed up and loaded up in my car. By the time I made it to her parents' house, it was after 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know how Beth was going to feel about me calling off the weekend, but I really liked her dad, and if I could help out, I was going to. Yeah, you have a great relationship with your parents, and if he's sick and, something can go down, you obviously care. You're a great boyfriend. Unfortunately, this whole thing's a big hoax. When I knocked on the front door, I was surprised to see her dad standing there with an ever-present grin. Hey, what happened to the COVID? He must have gotten better like that. It must be a miracle. That didn't make any sense. From what Beth was saying, he was laid out in bed pretty bad. I asked him how he was feeling, and he told me he was fine before he asked where Beth was. That part shocked me a little. I told him what she said at the campground, and his grin turned to a look of anger. He invited me in, and her mom got us all coffee while I explained what Beth had told me. Michelle, her mom, said she never called Beth and didn't know what I was talking about. That was when I realized that if she wasn't there, if she wasn't where she said she was going to be, she must have been somewhere she shouldn't have been. I think her dad came to the same conclusion. Can you imagine that awkward conversation? I mean, this guy generally thought something was going on until he got to the door and saw Dad showing up there with a cup of coffee with a big grin on his face. What a bitch. What a lowlife. Saying your dad got sick like that. I mean, again, this is May 2020, okay? And there was a lot less knowledge about what was going on then. And, and she's making that up just so she can do something. I got out my phone and texted Beth to ask how her dad was doing. In about 5 minutes, I got a text from her telling me how sick he was and how sorry she was for ruining the weekend. Well, she's about to be sorry herself. She said that she was helping around take care of him, but she was looking forward to seeing me at the end of the weekend. I shared her response with her parents, and her mom started crying. Her dad was mad as hell, and I was heartbroken because there was no doubt that she was lying to me and more than that likely cheating on me. Oh my God. I wasn't kidding, guys. The 2 years I've been doing this is the worst. I sent her another text and asked her what time she made it to her parents' house the previous night, and she said she just got there before midnight, but said that her mom was really happy that she was there to help. I showed her parents the response as well. Her parents must have been so embarrassed to think, what happened? What happened to the girl we raised, Her dad asked me what was I going to do, and I told them both how much I appreciated how well they treated me, but there was no way I could stay in a relationship with someone that was obviously cheating on me. Her mom was crying and hugged me, apologizing for what Beth had done. Her dad was just pissed and imagined he looked as angry as I felt. They told me that I'd always be welcome in their home, and I thanked them for everything. Before leaving, we all took a selfie together, and I sent the picture to Beth and told her that I would have her things shipped from the apartment to her parents' house and not to come back. Can you imagine her reaction seeing that selfie? Well, listen to this. It was only a few minutes after sending the photo that my phone started exploding with texts and calls. I didn't even bother reading them. I blocked her number and told her parents goodbye. Before I made it off the front porch, I heard her mom screaming at her on the phone. Her dad walked me out and shook my hand, and I told him I need to figure out how to get Beth's things out of my apartment, but that I didn't want to see or talk to her again. He agreed to bring his truck over and help me pack her things. Man, this is awesome. He's agreeing to come over and help you pack up her shit. And I'm loving that her mom is screaming at her on the phone. A lot of these stories I do, guys, when these gals do these awful things to these guys, usually the father is apologetic to the guy for his daughter's actions, but the mother tends to oftentimes side with the girl, make up some BS excuse to justify her actions. Not here. They probably liked him more than, I'm sure they liked him more than her. We'd only been back at our apartment for about 40 minutes packing her things when Beth ran in crying. She was swearing that she didn't do anything and that I didn't understand. For God's sakes, just own it. Just admit what you did. Cut the BS. And her dad's there, and her dad can obviously see. I mean, imagine that. Him seeing her, and she made up this whole thing about him getting sick and all that stuff. I asked her where she stayed, and she said she spent the night with one of her girlfriends that lives alone. She said she didn't want to go camping, but didn't want to ruin my weekend. I asked her why she didn't tell me that instead of lying to me. She said she knew how much I was looking forward to the camping trip and didn't want to make me angry. Oh, okay, because he's so happy now. It was when I asked her how she could have lied about her dad being sick that her dad started yelling at her. She was crying and trying to apologize to both of us and asking us to forgive her. Good for that dad. Tara knew one. Her dad was furious and I was strangely calm. The only thing that was going through my mind was if she could lie about something so serious, what else could she lie about? Exactly. She kept trying to hug me and saying how sorry she was, but I wouldn't let her touch me. I'm not sure if I was calm I'm not sure if it was how calm I was or the situation with her dad there, but she looked like she was on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. Hey, she deserves it. She was asking me what could she do to make it up to me, and I told her that I would forgive her if she showed me her phone. That was when her face went a little pale and her begging turned to a bunch of excuses. I told her that she showed me her phone and the call that she got the previous night from her friend. I would apologize and we would work through this, but that was the only way. Amazing, she goes from the begging and the pleading and all that to all of a sudden he says, okay, you want me to forgive you? Show me your phone. Her face gets white as a ghost and making excuses why she can't share him her phone. Remember, she said, I was with a friend. Define friend. That was when she started saying I wouldn't understand and it wasn't what I thought. They always. It's not what it looks like. It's not what you think. Well, it usually is. I gave her one more chance to hand over her phone and she still wouldn't do it, so I told her to get out. That was when she had a meltdown. I could barely understand what she was saying, but it was clear at that point that she was lying about her friend. I asked who she spent the evening with, and again, she started apologizing, said it was her manager at work. I knew the guy. He was married with a kid. Her dad lost it. So, guys, I want to point something out here. Quick little intermission. She's busted. Anybody with a brain can see she's busted. And yet, she kept excuses and lying and covering it up and crying and lying and crying and lying, sticking to her guns with this story. So for any of you guys, relationship guys, find yourself in a situation when things, without a shadow of a doubt, something's going on, don't back down, because these stories prove it. I've been in situations like this, I might add, with the crying and the lying and the crying and the lying. They don't back down until you, right here, look at all this, until finally it's out. It continues, he says, I knew he was a nice guy, but I don't think I ever seen a man that angry before. Her dad. It was kind of scary. She was sobbing and promising that it was the only time, sure, and begging me to give her another chance to make up for everything. That's another thing they always do. Please, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to make it right. I'll do anything, blah, blah, blah. And why'd you do it in the first place? Why didn't you think about that when you had some dude's sausage in your mouth and other places? She was crying that was a mistake and she didn't mean for it to happen. It was pretty planned out, obviously. I was done and told her to go to hell and get the hell out of my apartment. She was just crying and begging me to give her another chance. Thankfully, her dad was there. He picked her up from where she had fallen and carried her out of the apartment. Awesome. Like, get your ass over here. Picked her ass up. I can see her picking her up with the fireman's carry over his shoulder. I was completely dumbstruck. I didn't see any signs that there was anything wrong with our relationship. Bro, I'm sorry this happened to you. I really am. But you are not alone. There are countless dudes all over the world right now that are watching this that had the same story. Not the same story, but they never saw it coming. They thought everything was cool. And then they find out down the road she's been having an affair for 6 months or a year or whatever. It just happened my butt. I felt like someone ripped my heart out and stomped on it. I was going to marry that woman, and now I had lost not only her, but her family that had treated me with respect. I don't think I ever felt that alone in my entire life. That sucks, man, but you know her parents really like you, so you can have a relationship with them. When her dad came back, and his face was beet red, and we finished packing the rest of her things in mostly silence. Before he left, he gave me a hug and apologized to me again. I thanked him for always being nice to me and told him I wished things had turned out differently. So did he. He's probably like, hey, can I trade you for my daughter? I'll kick her out, and he'll adopt you. So that was the worst day of my life. I later found out that it was her manager's wife's dad that picked up the virus, and she was out of town for the weekend helping her family. I hated doing it, but I told his wife what happened. I would like to say that I did it because she had a right to know and that it was the right thing to do, but that's not the reason why I did it. The only reason I did it was to cause pain to that a-hole. Dude, nobody's going to blame you. That guy obviously knew your ex had a boyfriend and didn't care. And he also had a wife and kid. So screw him. It was a few weeks after I broke up with Beth that I finally able to tell the affair partner's wife what was going on. I thought Beth's dad was angry, but he looked like a sunny day compared to that wife. I guess this wasn't the first time he cheated on her. She went ballistic and ended up going to the HR department at work. He ended up violating 2 of the rules and was fired. They don't tolerate infidelity, and it's against company rules for managers to be dating their direct subordinates. I guess it's a conflict of interest. She said she was going to file for divorce and asked me if I would be a witness if her lawyer had any questions for me, and I agreed if it would cause him more pain. He brought this on himself. Fuck him. And this is a situation where, hey, I'm on her side too. Rake him over the coals. He brought it on himself. Anybody that cheats on somebody else, that treats you well and cares about you and all that, they deserve what's coming. All that happened about 2 years ago. Since then, I've got my life back on track and I'm happy with where I am. Awesome, bro. Good for you. I've given up the idea of getting married or spending so much of my life with another person. I didn't see anything wrong with our relationship, and I treated her great, but that wasn't enough to get her to be faithful to me. I don't think I'll ever put much trust in another woman after hearing many of the stories you share. It doesn't look like relationships work anymore. So for now, I'll continue to focus on living my best life and having a good time. Exactly, brother. That's what you got to do. That's what I encourage all you guys to do. It's a sad world. It's sad it is that way, but it would be one thing if occasionally I came across a story like this. But when I have guys sending me their stories from all around the world, that these types of things happen over and over. And don't get me wrong, cheating has been happening since the beginning of time. And men do it too. There's a lot of scumbag men that do it. But guess what? It seems to me, what I'm observing, the women are worse. Especially now, thanks to a certain movement, that you can't be as strong and empowered unless you're cheating on a guy and riding the carousel with every dude in the freaking town, right? This happens, and it seems the generation of the gals in their teens, 20s, and 30s are the worst now. And it seems like that's primarily the group of dudes that send me their stories. So you can't blame guys just saying, that's it, I'm done. I'm focused on myself, doing things that make me happy, spending time with my bros, pursuing my goals, bettering myself, all that. And maybe if I do relationships, they're going to be casual, or maybe the guy might find actually a conservative gal with some respectable standards, old school, old fashioned, if you will. Good luck trying to find that in today's world. See? He goes on. I still see Beth from time to time, but mostly just ignore her. She spent a few months trying to apologize to me and ask me to give her another chance, but other than shaking my head and ignoring her, I haven't anything really to say to her. Good, bro. A lot of guys probably would have caved and given her a second chance. And I guarantee, I know that wasn't easy for you, man, so good for you. She did get really angry when she found out that her parents still invite me over to dinner sometimes, but they both told her that their relationship with me is none of her business. She's got no right to get pissed off at her parents. She's lucky her parents are even talking to her, right? I'd like to know what happened after all this when she went back to their house and the whole dynamic with her parents after that. I'm curious about that. So that's my story, and as bad as it was, I learned a lot about myself and people in general. Her dad and me have a fishing trip planned in July, and it should be a good time. Bro, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're maintaining a relationship with her parents. You're gonna go fishing with her dad? That's cool. And as a little benefit, it'll piss her off to no end too. I'm not sure what's going on in Beth's life, and I really don't care. I gave her 4 years of my life that she didn't deserve, and she doesn't get any more of it. I guess the moral of the story is that life goes on, and as much as it hurts to get through it that time of my life, I've never been happier. Good luck to all you out there, and don't forget to live for the day. Amen. Well, bro, again, this is a record because in the 2 years I've been doing this, I've never heard of a gal stoop so low to get some side dick. But anyhow, man, you held yourself strong and you love to tell a tale, and it sounds like you're doing really well. So I appreciate you taking the time to write me. This is a good one. Something tells me this will be a popular video. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Give him a high five in the comment section for his actions. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.